I'm going to just focus on the three services that I think are most relevant to you guys, which are anybody that's pre-revenue and is just getting started. Typically what we find is that, people go through sort of like a transitional period of, I'm in research mode and I'm just getting started. I'm trying to get educated around the business. I'm trying to get clear on my business model. Like, what am I going to sell? Who am I selling to? Who's my target audience? So in the beginning, it's really high level. It's really educational based. It's really about getting clear on the business, right? Because if you just start making stuff, it's going to be a disaster. You have to know what you're making, who you're selling to, and be clear on that plan. And a lot of our clients do not have a fashion degree. They did not go to school for this. So like, we can't expect them to know everything about running a fashion business, and they haven't been in the industry either. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket is people that are ready to start, right? So either they've begun the process, maybe they've sourced fabrics, maybe they've made a sample somewhere, they've begun the process, but they're not making money yet. They're pre-revenue. That's B. And then C is you have established sales history. You're a brand. You're making some amount of money. You're in some level, right? And then, of course, we have big brands that work with us and just place POs with us, and you don't have to teach them anything because they're established companies, right? And so based on where you guys are at, we have different services that I think make the most sense. So I'm going to start with the first one that is really in relationship to those that are still getting educated and are not totally sure about their business model. And then I'll move towards the development options that we have. So the first, and you guys might have seen some videos that I've put out about this, but the first one is our Brand Launch Academy. Okay. We created this as an educational product as a substitution for not having all of the information that you need to start your line and really getting clear. So why did I do this? The reason that we made this is because many people were showing up to kickoff meetings and they didn't know anything, right? Like they didn't even know what they wanted to make. And the thing is like, we can only support you if you know what you want to do, what your business is, the styles you want to make, how much you're going to sell them for, retail price point wise, who your target customer is. These are important questions that really need to be answered before we start the development process. And there's nobody that can really decide that except you. And so Brand Launch Academy, could you mute? I'm going to mute you guys just so that we can all hear. So the Brand Launch Academy is all about giving you the information and the framework so that you can get educated and clear on the business model and the key priorities of your company before you actually start the development process. So I'll share my screen really quickly and just show you this briefly. This is our Brand Launch Academy. It is you go at your own pace kind of deal. There's a bunch of different videos on everything from literally like entrepreneurial mindset through to product development, manufacturing, how to do marketing, and how to like really understand a marketing funnel and prepare for that. So there's a lot of things to think about. And so the idea here is as you go through, you'll be able to get the information that you need without spending 100 grand on FITM kind of deal. But just the critical stuff, right? And by the end of it, you'll have the clarity as to exactly what you're going to make, who your audience is, what you're going to sell stuff for, all these different things. And we're actually continuing to add stuff to this system. So we're going to continue to add different resources that only people that have purchased this get access to. And then there's two cool things that come with this. There's three really cool things. One is a workbook that you're going to fill out. You're going to go step by step and start to fill out this workbook. Second thing is a Trello board, which is sort of like a project management software. So you can sort of add your design inspiration and stuff to it and start to fill it out. And then lastly, which is a really cool part of this, is there is a partner section. So in the partner section, we have different vendors and partners that we work with who will support you in different areas. So for example, in the design and marketing section, there's brands for getting your logo done, for influencer marketing, all sorts of different things that will help you in areas that, like fulfillment, for example, right? So the idea is there's so many things to think about. And the Brand Launch Academy is education, getting you prepared, and also connecting you to the other vendors that you might need, okay? So that is $497 on our site. If you do go through and you do a training, I think there is a discount. But that's kind of like base level entry, get in, get educated, and leave with like real clarity. And the cool thing is if you finish your workbook, you get a free kickoff meeting. So that $197 for the kickoff meeting is waived if you bought Brand Launch and then you actually are ready. Why? Because it saves us time, because you come to the meeting knowing what you want. and that makes it better for us. All right, so assume you do that, okay? So either at this point in the conversation, you should be like, all right, either yes, I'm doing that, or B, I already know the answers to all that stuff and I'm ready to start, right? Those should be where you're at. So now assuming you're ready to start the development process, which is making prototypes, picking your fabric, picking the styles, making the samples, putting the stuff on, and also determining any graphics, any artwork that's going to go anywhere on your garments, then you have two options. The first option is traditional custom development. This is where we literally give you a team of people and we source from around the world different fabrics. We bring them to you, you approve them, we make custom patterns, meaning if you send me like a weird invention or a gown from your closet, we can reverse engineer that and create that exact thing and then make changes to it. It is fully custom. There are practically no limits. What's the downside? The downside is it takes long. It takes many months to do. And I don't want to say it's expensive because anybody that's producing a custom collection is doing this because it's a business for the long term. But it is, $10,000 for development minimum, right? Is where we're starting. Now, it depends on how many styles you're doing. And so maybe like, say you're doing, most people do 5, 6, 7 styles, right? So you're going to say like $2,000 or $3,000 for a style over the course of X number of months. It's not the kind of thing that you can spend $1,000 on and you have this like custom collection. Okay. So, and I want to make sure you guys have this information up front. So, that's why I would say like not less than 10 grand for anything custom for development. That does not count for production. Now, production is a little bit different once you get there because it's based on the per unit. So while you might spend $2,000 or $3,000 to develop some dress, you're doing that so that once you get to production, you might spend $25 on the dress and sell it for $95. And that's your business model. That's where you get the return on that investment comes at that point once you've made inventory. But in that example, if you're doing 25 times 300 units, you need to pay for that inventory too, right? So you have that inventory that you have, and then you recoup your investment as you sell through those items, and you also pay off your development costs, okay? So it's not for everybody, but it's the most traditional, it's the most common option that we have. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. So yeah, benefits to that really quickly is you get basically anything you want. You can create something completely and totally unique. The negatives, I guess, are it's more costly and it is a many month program through development and production. Okay. The second development option that we have is our new build a brand model. And so I don't know if you guys have gotten emails from me about this program, but we just launched it. We're really excited about it. Why did we launch it? Everything that we launch has to do with what our clients are saying to us and what they need. And so many people have said to us, hey, Zach, I do want something. I do like the idea of custom, but like, I just want a hoodie. I just want a really nice hoodie, or I just want a really nice, pair of leggings. I just don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I also am not about to go to Alibaba and buy some crap. So, we created this to be a nice middle ground between two worlds. On one world, you have blanks, and everybody knows blanks are usually kind of crappy quality. Someone's coming in. I'll admit them. Right. So with blanks, they're there. It's already sitting on the shelf, but there's zero differentiation, right? You're just buying what some other company can print on. And this was always funny to me because when I first started doing this, like 9 years ago now, I went to Magic in Vegas and I would walk down the rows at every brand in the booths, and I would be like, you're printing on Gildan t-shirts. You're printing on Gildan t-shirts. You're printing on Gildan t-shirts. I was like, how are you guys doing with sales? And they would be like, terrible. I'm like, how come you aren't making something custom? Well, because it's too complicated in China and blah, 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 right? It's like either blanks and I have no differentiation in my product and I look like everybody else, or B, I do custom and like, if I'm not an expert, it's very easy to fail and many people fail. It's way harder than you think. That's what kind of sucks about this business is people for some reason always assume it's way easier than it is, which is like the worst thing you want when you're helping people do something. You want them to think it's the other way around, but it's actually way harder to navigate global supply chains than most people realize. So So anyway, so these people weren't doing it, but they were doing blanks. What was happening? They made no sales. They weren't there the next year. And I know because I went the next year and none of them were there. So you have the blanks game. It's very difficult. And you see lots of print on demand online, guys. I mean, it's very popular. But here's what you don't realize. Most and I mean the vast majority make no money. The vast majority make no money on printing on demand or printing on blank t-shirts because the product isn't there. There's no real brand thing. And, and I actually am in some groups with some very, very rich drop shippers who have been successful in that. And guess what? Every single one of them are talking about doing. Every single one of them have one conversation over and over again. We need to start our own brand. Because when you just sell commodity stuff, you can never really differentiate yourself, and there's no long-term wealth building going on. So long-term, even the guys that are doing the blanks really want to get out of the blanks. So then over here on the right side, you have custom. And so, with that, like I said before, you have long lead times. Ultimately, you get something, but it really is tricky because so many of the brands that come to us, they don't have an infinite budget, and they need to take the money that they have and make it work. Rather than just sitting on it. It's funny because most of the time people, everybody has a different opinion. I mean, I'll get people sending me nasty emails like, oh, I don't believe it costs 10 grand to start a clothing line. And yesterday I had a guy come to my office and he's like, yeah. I mean, you can't start a clothing line for less than $100,000, and this guy has been in the business for 20 years. And he told me, so everybody has their own opinion on what it should cost. But at the end of the day, what you have is what you have. You have a certain amount of money that you're investing into this. And so I want to make sure that the people that come to us can take those funds and use them in the way that will get them the best return for their money. Why? Well, because you don't come back and you don't have success. And so there's no benefit for me to make one run for you guys and then I never hear from you again, right? It's not a smart business decision for me. So my goal has always been one thing. How do I put my brands in a position to sell and to make reorders with us? Right? To keep ordering and to grow their company, because that's what helps me grow my company. And I tell you what, it's hard. The reason why it's hard is because 98% of businesses quote unquote fail. And so what we need to do is put you guys in a position to increase the chances of success. So the build a brand model is all about doing that. So what we do here is what we're taking, let me share my screen again. We are taking different styles. I'm pulling in my website real quick so you guys can see it. If you see it on our site, if you go to our services, the first one is called Build a Brand. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking pre-sourced materials and pre-developed styles that we already have. We're uploading them to the cloud and we're giving them to you guys to be able to leverage to shortcut the development process and get you into production. Because remember, dev is an investment. And it has to be paid off through the production. And so if we can skip some of those costs, then we can get you into production faster. So what Build a Brand does here, you can go through and check out this page on the site. Here's the steps. First thing you do is you order our fabric box. In the box are pre-selected materials, also trims, also labels, anything that you would need. The sourcing process, like I mentioned before, is the longest part of the process because you're getting material from anywhere. So instead of that, it's kind of like going to a restaurant. You go to the restaurant, they say, here's what's on the menu. You pick what you like, and that's what you get. These are fabrics that we know are great. They're high quality, and most importantly, they're available. They're pre-dyed or pre-printed. They're in stock. And that's been a really key thing because when you do custom stuff, not only is it insanely expensive, insanely wasteful, but also takes a long time. Once that's done, we send you guys a link. So I'm going to show you an example here. If you can see my screen, we have a 3D visualizer where you meet with our brand consultants and you can pick a style that you like. So for example, here we have a women's leggings. You can design into one of these fabrics here with in-stock patterns and prints, or you can pick solids. If I back up, I can pick, a women's crop top. This is just indie source. It's just a placeholder. You don't have to have that. You can design it. Now, the cool thing is that the fabrics that are sitting in your box that you have in your hand are matched up to these colors on the right here. So if you want to use this kind of, I actually really like this blue. If you want to use this kind of blue, you'll have that fabric. You won't necessarily have it in blue, but you'll have the material. So the hand, the feeling of it will be the same. And you'll be able to design it virtually on here. You'll be able to come over here and add your own artwork anywhere you want. Again, this is going to be made custom for you. So instead of just that square in the middle, like you always see on those blank t-shirts, the reason that they do that is because the shirt's already made. And so they're printing afterwards. Whereas what we do is we cut the fabric, then we print, and then we sew. So you can put the print wherever you want. It's one of the other advantages, making it much more custom to you and what you need to do. Okay. So after this is done, just going back to this step process here, you're designing this product in our software. And then after this is done, at the end of the meeting, our team will be able to give you production pricing, which is super cool because at the end of a kickoff meeting, we can give you quotes for development. We can give you quotes for development at the end of a custom kickoff meeting for like a custom project, but there's no way we can give you production pricing because we haven't made anything yet. The cool thing about Build a Brand is we've literally created this virtually. So I know the answers to the questions that allow me to give you pricing. How many units are you making? What fabric did you pick? What's the style of the construction? What artwork are you using? Once I know the answer to these questions, it's possible for our team to give you a quote, and we can give you a quote on the spot. So what do you pay for? You still pay for making a sample, right? So cutting and sewing of a sample. But you're not paying for patterns. You're not paying for a monthly subscription, sort of like we have a monthly service fee for anybody doing custom to work with our project managers who are sourcing all these things. You're not paying for that because, again, you've pre-decided what it's going to be. And so it's a fast track to production. We make a sample still. You get that sample. And once you approve it, then we can move into production. So it's significantly more affordable and faster way to get to market. And then, of course, after you sort of sell that through, if you ever want to go into custom, you can. But I think this is a pretty awesome opportunity for anybody that wants to get into the market and is trying to really test some things out. Okay. The current minimum is the same here. Once you get into production, it's the same here as it is anywhere, really with any company. I mean, most companies are more than this, but our typical minimum is 300 units once you get to production. Okay. So 300 units sounds scary to some people, not scary to others, but here's why it's not scary. Okay. Let me explain. When you take 300 units, you can divide this 300 into up to 3 colors and up to, I believe, 4 or 5 sizes. That leaves you with only 20 to 25 per SKU. And trust me, if you are spending the time to market, photograph, and promote a company and a product, you do not want to have less than that in terms of units. You want to be able to sell those units so you can make your money and you can grow the business. So there's a great point where you're not making so much, you have too much inventory, where there's risk, but you're not making so little that you have literally no ability to make a margin on the product. If you can't make a margin on the product because you're making 50 pieces or 20 pieces, then you have no profit to actually grow the company and you have no business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, cool. So that's the Build a Brand program. If how do you take action on these? I'll show you really quickly. It's pretty simple, and it's essentially the same for each. Our brand consultants run both programs, but again, I think that the Build a Brand just makes more sense. So with Build a Brand, you come down to the bottom. I'll just scroll to the bottom here so you can see it. You can watch my little video I made. You buy the Build a Brand starter kit, okay? So this is $197. It includes the box. It also includes a design and strategy consultation with a brand consultant. And we also right now have Lisa, who's one of our pattern makers and sort of the expert in our 3D system. She'll be on. And by the end of the meeting, once you guys design your stuff, you will be able to have like literally a production quote, which has just been impossible to do in the past, which is super cool. The only thing you need to bring to the table is you got to have your artwork, right? Because what we want to do is design this thing with you. If you do not have your artwork, someone else is joining. If you do not have your artwork, then we have partners that do graphic design, and you could buy the starter kit. You'll receive the box, but what I would say is immediately email us once you get your welcome email, and once you order this, immediately email us and say, hey, I need a graphic designer. Here's what I need, so that we can get you in contact with them, and they can start making any of the artwork for whether that's your logo, whether that's a saying on the shirt, whatever you're planning on doing in terms of printing. Of course, it's not required to do printing, but a lot of times people wait until the end to do artwork, and that's a big mistake. So we want to know and have that early so we can design it virtually And that process is just incredible to make a virtual sample before making samples in real life. It saves a lot of headache. Okay. So if you're interested in doing this, this is $197. Order it, pay online, very simple. Now, the second one, which you guys have probably seen, has been on the site forever. This is just the traditional kickoff meeting. Okay. Same kind of deal. You book your meeting here. What do you need for this meeting? So there's two things you need for this meeting if you are looking to go the custom route. And like I mentioned, this is generally starts around 10K if you're doing any real number of styles. You know, if you're doing 2 styles, maybe not that much, but if you're doing a real collection, it's usually 10 or more to develop something purely custom. Now, there's two things that we need from you if you're going the custom route. The first thing we need from you is your reference samples. So that's I think I might even explain that in this video, and you can go there and watch it, but it's just a garment that we're going to use as a reference of the fit or the fabric that you want. You could have 2 different garments. One garment could be, you know, heavyweight French terry for a fabric reference, and another garment could be fit. But we need to you don't need to send it to us, but you need to have it for the meeting that you're holding, so that in the meeting, the brand consultant can see it and can get clear on what that will cost to be able to make patterns and samples from scratch for that item. And then the second thing is we have a development cheat sheet, which many of you have seen. I think it is on here. Yeah. So I can click this. This is the development cheat sheet. It's also just on the website. It's very important. If you want to download this, go to File, Make a Copy. Because a lot of people always try to edit this and they can't. But if I let one of you edit it, that means it's going to be filled out and then no one else is going to be able to edit it. So you have to make your own copy and you can go and fill out the style. All right, style 1, I'm doing a hoodie, or style 1, I'm doing a button down. This is the name. I have reference samples. So you just fill this out and you bring this to your kickoff meeting so that we're prepared with exactly what you're looking to accomplish and everybody is on the same page. By the end of that meeting, after you've gone through all the styles and fabrics and everything that you want to build, we're creating a statement of work for you, and we're going to give you a proposal for development only. And then as you go through the process of development and you're working with your project manager from our team, they will put together production pricing for you as you make decisions about quantity and fabric and, you know, all sorts of custom stuff. Okay. So hopefully that's pretty clear. We price them at the same exact point. Hope you can see why. We're obviously trying to get people to do the build a brand, because having done this for literally over 600 brands, you know, a lot of people underestimate the amount of time and energy it takes to build a collection, to start a company. And so I think this is just a benefit. If you're doing something that is an invention, you got to go custom route, right? There's no way to avoid that. But if you're developing, you know, a basic style, and, you know, there's not a ton in here today. There's plenty. We're going to continue to add more. We're adding a button down. We're adding some sweat shorts. We're going to continue adding styles to here as well. But ultimately, you know, this will be a library as time goes on that you guys can gain access to. Okay. So to recap, and I'll just pull myself off of that screen share. We have 3 products, right? So 3 services for you guys. Number 1, the Brand Launch Academy, which is the educational course to prepare you for launching your line. Secondly is the Build a Brand, gaining access to fabrics and pre-made bodies that we have. And I say body, I mean a specific silhouette and a patterns that we've invested in. And then lastly, custom development. The Brand Launch Academy is a one-time $497. And then the access to get started on the custom or the Build a Brand, that's $197. And like I said before, if you missed in the beginning, if you buy the Brand Launch Academy, the kickoff meeting, or the Build a Brand box will be free, so long as you do your homework and you fill out the worksheets. That just helps us ensure you're serious and we know what you want to make, and priorities are all kind of clear. That's it for what I wanted to say. So I just want to open up for any questions you guys have. And yeah, that's it. What do you got for me?
So okay, if you're making the custom made, and do you have to come with a reference design if you already have a design, like the ones you designed yourself?
Depends on what you have. So when you say design, do you have a tech pack?
No, like I do a lot of illustrations, So I
Yes,
have some already sketched out designs I would like to produce. Do I need to still come with a reference design?
you do, because I would be willing to guess that your sketches don't communicate to me what the size of your garment is, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's the problem. It's good conceptually, but a sketch isn't going to tell me anything about the measurements of what we're making for you, right? So that's
Yeah.
the problem with the sketches. I have no idea what you like in terms of fit, and so that's why we need a reference
Okay.
sample. If you have
Okay.
a tech pack and you already have specs and you already have the measurements, you do not need a reference sample. That's the only way to get around that, is if you already have a tech pack made from you for you by someone else, with specs and all the measurements, then you don't need a reference sample.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I'm new to all this. So what is a tech pack?
A tech pack is basically like it is one document that communicates absolutely everything about a garment to a manufacturer. So it's kind of like
Okay.
the ingredients, but it's like the roadmap, right? So it'll have all of the directions for sewing. It'll have the material information. It'll have all the call outs, because when you send it to a factory, if you have a tech pack, it really is easy to know what to do. And in the custom development program, the first thing we do actually is we make tech packs for you, because that ultimately
Okay.
is a roadmap. So the first thing we do for you is we take your reference samples. We take the notes from your kickoff meeting and that conversation, and you have an onboarding call with your project manager. What they're going to do is they're going to, extract as much information as possible and build a tech pack. You're then going to approve that tech pack before we start any sourcing of material or we do anything, so that we know, all right, we're all on the same page on what this program is going to look like. And so we make the tech pack for you, you approve it, and then we can begin the process of sourcing and pattern making and sample making.
Okay. Another thing, I had made some samples on Ken Custom as far as the look that I'm going for my clothing line. But I just want to know, should I use the Builder brand or the custom, or just use both, or try both?
I'm not familiar with King Custom. Is that a blanks company?
Yeah, you put your own designs on blank canvas, and like shirts and jackets, shorts, shoes, or whatever. And
yeah, I would recommend if you're already doing blanks, if you're interested in working with us, that you leverage the Build a Brand styles, because you could certainly use those styles and make something custom, but I think that would be a waste of money. So I would say use what's available in Build a Brand if you're doing blanks, because that's like the next step up, right? If you're doing blanks, move to Build a Brand, because it's going to give you a lot more customization without having to invest in the brand new patterns.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody else have a question? How many? I asked Lizzie and a couple of other people, maybe Olivia, about where they were at, but I'm curious for some of the rest of you. Are you guys in education mode? Are you just trying to get educated, or have you guys made a decision to start your collection? Like, you're doing this business. I'm curious to just hear that feedback.
I'm actually, like, this is my decision. I want to do. I've been wanting to be a fashion designer since I was like 10.
Mm-hmm.
But for educating myself, I know a couple of things, but some things that I do need to learn.
Right. Okay. No, I appreciate that. How about you, Tylene?
Yeah, I've definitely made the decision to move forward. I have like all my sketches and everything like budgeted out, planned. I am just hopping on this call to figure out kind of next steps. I missed the beginning because I was in a meeting for my job. So as far as the Builder brand thing, portal that you guys have, is that just for like clothing? Because I'm creating like a swimwear line, so I'm not sure if we would have to go custom route, or if you guys already have several different fabrics that we could pick from.
We don't have swimwear today, but I'm sure it's something that'll be on the menu at some point. So I would say that it would make more sense for you to go custom if you're doing
Okay,
swimwear.
and that was the assumption that I had anyway, because I didn't even know that this Builder brand section existed. But there's like some apparel that we would like like
Yeah.
t-shirts and stuff like that, I think like that would be a
Yeah,
good
you can
route
do
to
both
go for like
actually.
add-ons because
Exactly.
of course our swim lines are very, very like unique. But there's some things that we'll do like just like basic tees and stuff like that I think that might be useful for.
Perfect. Yeah, what you can do is what I would recommend is you go custom first. Now, let's say in your kickoff meeting you have a proposal with 4 styles, right? You begin that process, and then you can tell your project manager, "Hey, I want to add on Build-A-Brand styles," and your project manager will literally say, "Okay, cool. Which styles you want to do?" And because we're already working together, she'll make sure to like toss a box in the mail for you. You know what I mean? That'll
Right.
just if you start working with us on custom, they'll help you add on any Build-A-Brand styles that you might want, for free. We won't even charge you for the box. So if you're already a client of ours and you want to add on, then it's easier to start custom and then add on Build-A-Brand styles if you know you're going to have some custom. If you're not going to have any custom and you're just going to do Build-A-Brand, start with Build-A-Brand. That's how I would approach it.
Perfect. And I don't want to make you have to repeat yourself because I know I missed the meeting and I know I walked in with you starting, but if you could just like briefly like high level go over the timeline for like custom things. Like I know right now like our first collection we have 7 swimsuits. So how
It's
long?
a great question. The answer is that there is no answer, unfortunately,
Okay.
right? Because when you're creating something custom, it depends. It's like saying, how long does this take to start a company, right? It's like, or to reach $1 million in my business. It's just, it's not necessarily the right question to ask because sometimes it can take a couple of months, sometimes it can take a year, and it really depends on your structure. And I'll give you an example. If you are selecting pre-dyed fabrics that are sitting in stock, that is a choice that will save literally months and months. Because you're doing swim, I think that it's probably very likely that you will do that. Whereas if somebody is doing custom hoodies and they need to dye a specific Pantone, every time you do you dye fabric, it's going to take multiple weeks to be able to get you that sample yardage. And so the timeline is extremely dependent on what you're making. But here's what we do. Once you start the process, one of the first things that I said we do is we make a tech pack. The other thing that we do in our onboarding meeting is we create a TNA calendar, a schedule. Because our project managers, their job is to keep you guys on track. So they're going to create a schedule for you where it says, all right, our goal is that by this time, we're going to have fabrics picked. By this time, patterns are going to be done. By this time, you're going to, have your first fitting and give us feedback. We're going to create a roadmap for you so that you guys are clear exactly what the goal is. And it is the responsibility of both of us to keep that timeline, right?
Right.
Trust me when I say that when timelines are moved back, 90% of the time it's because of our clients, not because of us. And that typically has to do with making decisions about approvals. Did you pick this fabric? And so you have to be able to be willing to make decisions quickly about a fabric and say, okay, let's go with this one. There's millions of fabrics out there, but sometimes people are very picky. And sometimes if you're too picky, you end up not even going into business because you want something that doesn't exist as opposed to just using what's available and getting started. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think momentum is critical, and perfection or creating a custom fabric on your first run is really unnecessary. But that's my opinion. But yeah, Tylene, also, if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to forward you the recording of this conversation if you want to go back and listen to any part of it. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Filippo, are you already started your business or something you're planning on? Can you hear me, Filippo? He's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I had you on mute. So no, yeah, my business is already started. I have a small production down in Florida, and I'm relocated in California. So I'm actually trying to relocate all the production here.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, if you are production ready, obviously that's a bit of a different program. Most people are not production ready, but anybody that is, or if anybody, reaches out in the future, there's 2 things that we need in order to go into the production process, which is a finished sample of which you have already made,
Yeah.
As well as an RFQ, so we know the breakdown of the PO or the order that we would be producing.
Right.
It would also indicate that you already have patterns, you already have fabric sourced, and you have these things done that we're sort of talking about. But we do have a whole production side of the business. We have production advisors that support with established companies that are looking for a new manufacturer. And so if you guys or anybody you know is looking for support with manufacturing, or they want a team that's, actually cares about them, then they can call us and talk to that division of the company.
That's great. What are you working with small company that are doing limited orders too?
Our current minimum is 300 units per style, broken down into sizes and colors. So it's a very, very, very realistic entry point for anybody that's looking to produce product.
Okay.
Okay, great. Does anybody else have any other questions or want to share where you're at in the process?
Okay, like I said, I tried Ken Customs, but I only did it to get an idea of how I wanted my ideas to look. I wanted to know, like, doing patches and artwork and stuff on the shirt. Is that still going to be under the Builder brand, or is that custom?
I don't know about patches or anything. I'm not familiar with that. I mean, do you have the patches?
No, I don't have the patches. Like I don't know if it's called Chanel, or I don't know how to pronounce it. It's CHENILLE.
We do embroidery and screen printing for the Builder brand program. So if you want something else, it would not be that program. For now, okay. Yeah, it would be custom, but we can do any screen printing that you might want. All right, guys. Well, hey, that concludes this information session. Thank you so much for joining. Hop on there, book that meeting, and we'll connect you to one of our brand consultants. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to shoot us an email, info@indiesource.com. And thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.